Hi everyone, Keren here from tuppence.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. This is what I've been doing today. I've been playing with one of our little sweet treat cups, and if I open it up inside, I have got some lovely sweeties to share with somebody special. To save us some time, I've gone ahead and I've done all of my die cutting off camera. So I've cut 3 strips of this delicate lace, that's this one, in petal pink. And I cut 3 in Whisper White, and I cut 3 in Blushing Bride. And I've also cut 2 of this pattern in Whisper White. I cut some in Blushing Bride as well. I'm not sure yet which colour I'm going to use, but I'm going to begin by doing... I've nearly finished all of my die cut pieces, and I've just gone back over all 3 colours with the Blushing Bride ink, and I'm just shading just the ends there, just to deepen the colour a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting. And same thing on these pieces. Just to make the colour look a little bit more antique. I've cut 3 of these, just in case, but 2 should be plenty. And I've also cut 2 pieces of my designer series paper. Actually, put that one the wrong way up. This one I cut using this template. If you go onto my blog, you can download a copy of that. And this one I sized by drawing round a circle, a ribbon reel. Happens to be the right size. And I'm giving this one a bit of shading around the edges as well. And same here, just using up the last of the ink on my mat. Okay. Don't want to be all day about it. Okay, so before I go any further, put those pieces, no, I need this piece. Let's take the lid off the treat cup. I have a little piece of tear and tape on my cup, and I've put it where the seam of the cup is, where the join is, and I've also got a piece on to my my DSP, and I've put it on the side that's going to be the inside, and the bit that's going to overlap. So that's on what's going to be the wrong side of my paper. I'm just taking the backing tape off my my cut DSP and lining that up with my sticky tape. And I'm just going to wind that all the way around. Take the backing off again. When it wants to play ball, there you go. Just going to overlap those 2 ends, and there's my little treat cup. So the base of my treat cup is now covered, and for the lid, I could use tape, but I've got my liquid adhesive handy, so I'm going to use that. And as you can see, by using this as my template, this is pretty much a perfect fit. So the next thing I want to do is join my pieces of lace into So the next thing I want to do is to join my pieces of lace. 3, 2, 1. So the next thing I want to do, move that out of the way and move that out of the way. We're going to put my thumb in it. So the next thing is to join these pieces together so that they make one long strip. And the way that I found works best is I'm going to trim away most of this edging, and I'm trying to follow the shape of the fan. Get my liquid adhesive, which was here a minute ago and has walked off. Here it is, and I'm just going to apply some liquid adhesive along the back of that piece, and I'm going to line them together, join them up together, trying to fit them as closely as possible. Okay, so I'll do that again one more time. I'm going to trim away the edging pieces. My adhesive on the back, and line these up. Now, when I was cutting these out, I did find that I needed a bit of a shim to make them cut properly. So I think precision base plate might be a good idea. Or the old, I'm trying to think what it's called, baking paper, wax paper and what's the other thing? I can't think. Tumble dryer sheets, that's it. So maybe make use of those as well. Okay, so now I am. I'm going to run some liquid adhesive. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to estimate first how much I need. So I'm lining the fan up with the base of the treat cup, winding it round, and it is actually almost an exact fit. So if I cut there, cut these pieces away. Hang on to those in case I need to do some patching. Get the liquid adhesive. And again, something like a tape would work well for these, but it would need to be quite a narrow tape. Okay, just lining that up with the base, winding that around. I need more adhesive, need to order some more, and line that up. Okay, now because it's a liquid adhesive, I can move things around if I need to. I'm just kind of coaxing the paper here a little bit, just persuading it that it wants to go where I need it to. Okay, so that's overlapped the base a little bit, but I'm not going to get too upset about it because I'll just curl it up. Okay, so I should just curl it up so that it sits flat. There we go. Okay, so that's the first layer. So I'm going to carry on with my second layer and my top layer, and be back in a little while. So I'm going to go ahead off camera and have a bit more of a play with that. I'm not going to bore you with watching me pull bits of paper around, and we'll come back when we're finished. I've put tear and tape on the reverse of these pieces, and they're going to go around the lid of the cup. And I'm lining up the straight edge. When I cut these, I made sure that my die was lined up right with the edge of the paper, because these dies, where have they gone? Okay. This is not a cutting edge. Okay, so you can have your lace as deep as you like. This is a cut edge, and all of these are cut edges, but this is not a cut edge, and neither is this, and neither is this. So when I was cutting my lace for my box, I made sure that I lined up the not cutting edge with the edge of my paper. Okay, so let's get the backing off of this. It's been a little bit naughty tonight. It's been making my life difficult for me. Okay, so I'm just going to overlap those two pieces so that you can't see the join, and work my way around and hope. Yes, look at that, as if it were planned. Okay, so I'm just going to snip off that edge there where it doesn't quite meet. And I'm going to bring back my sponge, I think, and give this a little bit more of a sponge around that top edge. It's got the Blushing Bride ink still on it. Not adding any more, I'm just using what's in the sponge. And again, this is one of my ordinary kitchen sponges, which I find work almost as well as the fancy kind. So that's what I'm going to use. Okay, so again, I'm going to push those outwards so that they don't catch when I put the lid on my box. And there you go. Isn't that gorgeous? That is so pretty. I love it. With my Memento Tuxedo Black on Whisper White card, I've stamped this sentiment from Time for Tea, which is one of the retiring stamps, and I've cut it out with the that die from the Tea Time framelets. And now I've mounted up two more of the stamps from this set onto my clear block. So I have this one and this one, and I'm going to start with the one that's solid, and my Petal Pink ink, my lighter colour ink, and I'm just going to stamp that underneath the sentiment. Now I've got a squishy mat underneath my card because I'm using a photopolymer stamp, and that's come out rather nicely. So with the stamp with the details on now and Blushing Bride ink. Now I could get out my Stamper Artist to do this, but I don't mind if I get a kind of slightly off effect on this. So I'm just doing it by eye. And actually that's come out not too badly. I'm trying to decide whether to repeat the process above. Is there room? That would be pushing it a bit, I think. But there is this die. Excuse me 1 minute while I change up my stamps onto my inkjet. Okay, so one on that end, or one on that end, so that they don't foul each other. get in the way of each other. So first of all, the powder pink. Let's put that way. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and ride. Okay, so I need to look carefully at this to make sure that I point it in the right direction. There's a little stem at the bottom there, which is that stem there. So I'm just going to line that up best as I can without getting my head in the way of the camera. And there we go. Okay, so well, you knew I was going to sponge it, didn't you? There was no way I was going to leave that unsponged. And you don't have to do this, of course you don't. But I do like that little bit of extra depth that it gives to your work. Okay, so I can pop that on there just like that, or I can put it on top of this doily, which I have also sponged. But you can barely see, so I'm not going to do that. So a little bit more sponging onto my Whisper White just to make it a bit pinker. And you might be asking yourself, well, if you wanted pink card, why didn't you start with pink card in the first place? And the answer is, it's because Whisper White is so smooth and it is so much easier to stamp on. And I mean, you can stamp onto the coloured card, of course you can, but you get a really, really good result. We're nearly done. A little bit of liquid adhesive on the back of the sentiment. That can go on there. The only thing I did think of doing was getting some foam roses from the craft shop and kind of piling them over the top. But I decided that I would go with the sentiment instead. And now inside we can pop some sweeties. How many will it take? Did I get 6 in there? Plenty to share. Okay. And last of all, lay this stuff down. And let's just have a couple of these little frosted flower embellishments. That's what they're called. Let's have 3 of these, shall we? And I think I'm now going to step away from the treat cup. So there it is, finished, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I do thank you very, very much for staying with me to the end. And that's all for today, but I'd love it if you came back and saw me sometime again soon. But for now, bye bye.